Juventus are back in town for the first time in 24 years. Tonight they'll play Melbourne Victory in the final match of their post-season tour. Well, 9 days after the Victory completed their AFC Champions League campaign with a win against Chonburi, Ernie Merrick makes 3 changes to his starting 11. Danny Allsop and Roddy Vargas are in prison with the Socceroos. Nathan Elassi is promoted for his first start at home, while Seb Roll replaces Vargas in defence. Michael Theoklitos also returns in goals. It's the familiar 4-4-2 for the Bianconeri, but not so many familiar faces. Defenders Nicola Legrottaglie and Christian Molinaro. Midfielders Thiago and Cristiano Zanetti, the only regulars from the recent Serie A season. But there's still plenty of quality. Jonathan Zabina and Marco Marchioni are both internationals, as is emerging striker Raffaele Palladino, while the Aussie flavour is provided by Jess Van Straten in goals. The referee tonight is Ben Williams. We're good to go here at the Telstra Dome. Big crowd on hand. Cristiano Zanetti and the like will make sure it's not going to be easy for the Victory. Nor would they expect it to be. A huge roar greets the opening whistle. And Juve are back on Australian soil at last. It's been a couple of years, this game in the making. There's been a few attempts to get the tour to proceed. And you can see why, Paul Trimboli, when you look around this stadium and see how many people have turned up.
Yeah, fabulous turnout. Midweek, winter coming fast, but the people are out here to see some entertainment. And let's hope the teams provide it. It's always interesting in this sort of environment. What's the mentality going to be of the touring side? How desperate are they going to be aggressive? How inspired are they going to be for the contest? Let's wait and see.
Nice footwork from Hernandez early. There's Van Straten with his first touch of the ball. Long ball forward, Kemp across. There's Elassi. There goes Hernandez. Play on, says the referee. Zanetti. Foul by Stentaro, all over the back of Hernandez. Free kick's been taken quickly by the Victory. And Zaleski.
It'll be interesting to see Melbourne's tactics in the way they approach pushing forward. No Danny Allsop tonight, always the one to provide that real physical contest. A big in size back four for the Juventus tonight.
Zabina, nice ball down the line, but just too much on it. Marchioni. Ward. Chases on for Elassi. Hernandez across there. The 33-year-old, his final appearance for Juve, playing in the left-hand side of this 4-man defence. Zabina on the right. Stentaro and Legrottaglie, the central defenders. Poor ball from Kemp. He's played his team into trouble. In fact, it was Pace, Stephen Pace. I apologise to Matthew Kemp. Here's Podolyak. Well, Ernie Merrick had hoped to extract Danny Allsop and Rodrigo Vargas from the Socceroos squad for the game tonight. Pim Verbeek said no. Very keen to keep as many players as possible in that World Cup camp ahead of the game against Iraq on Sunday. The chance does open for the likes of Nathan Elassi.
Absolutely, and I don't think Rodrigo Vargas, as much as it would be appealing to play against Juventus, I think he'd want to be with that Socceroo lineup as Danny Allsop. The opportunity to play on Sunday in the big World Cup qualifier, but as as you said, an opportunity for some guys who haven't seen a lot of game time. We'll be looking to impress before the off-season break.
Thiago. Zebina on the overlap. It's a good ball in from Zebina. And some ball watching from that Melbourne defence.
There's a lovely ball, left foot from Zebina. Had a bit more pace on it than I think Stephen Pace anticipated. Cleared him.
Molinaro pushing forward down that left-hand side. He's playing in a midfield role. With Birindelli behind him.
Molinaro, one of the unsung heroes of this Juventus lineup throughout the Serie A campaign. Not one heavily favoured in the press. Famous for his performances. 30 appearances for Juventus this season. Almost an ever-present.
Zebina again, keen to push on. Plenty of room in front of him. French international Zebina gets to the byline with ease. Easily past Kevin Muscat, who's helped out in the end by a covering challenge from Kemp.
Lovely work from full-back Zebina. Graceful in possession. Glided past Kevin Muscat.
Corner in from Marchionni. Towards that back post. Free header in the end. Hernandez with heavy traffic. That muscle. Marchionni gets it back. Whips in a dangerous ball. The opening goal of the game. Juve have scored.
Absolutely wonderful ball in. We saw the corner kick partially cleared. Fell to Carlos Hernandez, who got caught on the ball in a dangerous area. It's just outside his own penalty area. It was spread back right. Marchionni whipped it in. Wonderful pace on the cross. Then pounced on in the middle.
Thumping header it was. Juve in front. Ball watching from the Victory defence.
Legrottaglie, I think, with the finish.
Legrottaglie, yes.
Wonderful contact.
Well, I guess the only outcome that Melbourne Victory want to avoid here is a shellacking. That's what they don't want. Juve showing their class already.
Be a real test for the Melbourne Victory, falling behind early. The Italians, Juventus especially, renowned for their discipline, the way they play that 4-4-2. They hold their ground, they keep their spacing. It's going to be difficult for Melbourne Victory to play through midfield. A real test for this side.
Thiago pulling the strings at the moment in midfield. Zebina's ball's crossed the line. Thiago disappointed not to have made the Portugal squad for Euro 2008. There's talk that he's leaving the club. Atletico Madrid is a possible destination.
He never really came to grips with his season. Started okay, fell away.
And the goal scorer has picked up the first yellow of the game for a shirt pull. Nicola Legrottaglie. Now on the ball. Birindelli to his left. Here's Molinaro. Zanetti somewhat fortunate not to get a card there for kicking the ball away. Thiago protests his innocence. Juve finishing third quite comfortably in the Serie A this season. That's a ticket to the Champions League, which is a pretty good outcome considering where they were 12 months ago in the Serie B. Kemp wriggles his way through and was caught in two minds, wasn't he, Matthew Kemp? Surprised, stunned perhaps that so much of the goal opened up in front of him.
It was a wonderful jinking run from Matthew Kemp. Got himself inside the penalty area. Perhaps should have had a strike on goal. In the end, it was a half-hearted cross. It never really looked like finding a victory shirt. We talk about the opportunity for some of these young Melbourne Victory players to stake a claim for future spot in the first 11. Legrottaglie, the case in point, started the season on the substitutes bench. High-priced recruit Andrade went down with an injury. From that moment onwards, he took charge of that position, made it his own.
Andrade still on the injured list. Jorge Andrade. Muscat. Birindali. An emotional night for Alessandro Birindali. A stalwart for Juve for more than a decade, now on the ball. Plenty of Juve fans are unhappy that in the final game of the Serie A season in Genoa against Sampdoria, that Ranieri didn't even give him 5 minutes on the park to say goodbye. He's going to say goodbye here in Melbourne, a long, long way from home. No room for sentiment in football.
No, it's the modern era, isn't it? Doesn't always end with the fairy tale. Juventus' wonderful history of long-term players, especially defenders. Wonderful pedigree back through the years. Cabrini, Chile, Gentile. The names roll off the tongue.
All members of that Juve team which came out here in 1984. It does show you just how far football in Australia has come. In those days they had to play the national team. All visiting clubs did play the national team when they came here. Now we're seeing them play a club side. The A-League has a lot to do with that. Zanetti's ball in, Molinaro's ball in fact it was. Hooked in towards the edge of that 6-yard box. Have another look at that goal from Legrottaglie. Ball watching by the Victory defence.
And the pace on the cross was what did the damage. You may have been ball watching, but it was a split second, wasn't it? Legrottaglie in, encouraging for the defender, sees that ball out in front of him, powered onto it. And we just saw another example, Molinaro that time with the cross.
Nathan Alasi will be pinching himself, looking around this pitch. Boy from Sydney, ex-Marchionni and Sydney Olympic. His only other game, his only other starting appearance for Melbourne was in South Korea against Chunam Dragons a few weeks ago. In front of, I would suggest, a couple of thousand people.
We spoke before about the A-League and the opportunities provided, how far the game's come. You see some of this young talent out on the field and the opportunities is just mind-blowing, isn't it? You can't help but be envious. Opportunities of fully professional A-League, Asian Champions League, games against club sides of the ilk of Juventus. Magnificent to be a young player at the moment.
He races on between Zaleski and Palladino. It's going to be a Juve corner. Played short. Victory have gone to sleep. Clipped into the back post. Headed away by... And the shot, it was placed with the clearing header. And no mucking around there from Juve. Claudio Ranieri likes what he sees. Audacious.
Wonderful technique on the volley. It's been a standout feature already.
Hernandez. His first touch just has to be perfect against players of this quality, as Tommy Pontiac discovered.
Now, wonderful pressure from midfield, working back towards the defence. Great ability to get the player on the ball to put his head down, limits his vision and the opportunity to release it safely. And as you said, if your touch isn't spot on the mark, they'll swamp you in a hurry.
Well, you think they're not competitive. Look at Zanetti there, appealing for a yellow card to the referee. I'm sure they were embarrassed losing the opening game of this tour in Hong Kong, these Juve players. Zanetti goes over the top. Lovely ball, delightful ball from Zanetti. This time the Victory had the numbers.
That time Palladino on the receiving end of a lovely little outside of the foot chip pass. Zanetti.
Played short by Juve, the dummy from Thiago. It was Zebina in the end with the shot. Here's Zaleski. Easy pickings for the Frenchman. Too big, too strong, too good. Zanetti with the switch. That's Paolucci.
Lovely ball in from Zanetti again, showing his range, wasn't he? We saw a chip ball outside of the right foot of some 20 yards. That time was a 40-yard full instep drive to pick out Molinari.
Nicola Legrottaglie, who's on loan from Atalanta, partnering Raffaele Palladino in the Juve attack, a very youthful attack. Of course, they're missing Del Piero and David Trezeguet, the two top goal scorers in the Serie A last season. Trezeguet returning to Europe at the weekend for personal reasons. He played the opening 2 games of this tour, as did the Bosnian Hasan Salihamidzic. Disappointing for the Melbourne fans that Trezeguet bailed before this game.
Yeah, very emotional time for Trezeguet, obviously, with his partner, and also the fact he's been left out of the French national squad. Furious with the coach. Took it as a real snub. Had a wonderful season in the Serie A. Still remains out of favour on the national front scene.
Paolucci taking exception to Kevin Muscat's strength.
Joins a long list.
I wonder if they've heard of Kevin Muscat, these Juve players. I wonder how far his reputation has spread. The captain of Melbourne Victory. Three seasons now with the club. Now a member of the coaching staff as well. Molinaro. Thiago. Legrottaglie. Nice work from Palladino. Looks up, trying to pick up Paolucci, but Kemp is well positioned. Well, the first 3 or 4 minutes were bright for Melbourne, but they really are struggling to get meaningful possession in the opposition half. Juve are boxing them in, putting pressure on the ball straight away. It's a pace in this game that maybe the Victory haven't been used to in this AFC Champions League campaign.
It's the combination, isn't it? Pace with the ball, but also pace in their defensive work. Juventus so quick to cover the ground in midfield. They work the player in possession over very, very cleverly. Forced a turnover time and time again.
Oh, that's a crunching tackle from Matthew Kemp straight through the back of Jonathan Zebina. His looks could kill. Claudio Ranieri. Job done for him after the humiliation and embarrassment of that demotion of the Serie B for the match-fixing scandal. The ticket to the Champions League, that was the target. It was achieved with the minimum of fuss by Ranieri, who is now looking to strengthen his squad for the Champions League campaign next year. There's talk about the Liverpool midfielder Xabi Alonso. Negotiations are underway, as well as the Brazilian striker Amauri, who's been playing with Palermo. Two new faces likely to be at the Dalampi next season. Well, is this the first touch for Jess Van Straten in open play? 23 minutes into the game. At this rate, it might be a bit difficult for him to showcase himself to Pim Verbeek.
Yeah, he wanted some prestige
he's going to catch tonight as a cold.
He wanted to get in the action.
Play on, says the referee. Danger here for the Victory. Molinaro. Out comes Theoklitos. Was there a foul? Referee says no.
Another wonderful weighted pass from midfield. We see the contact there between the Melbourne Victory defender. I think it was Broxham. Referee in good position.
Molinaro stayed forward, whips in a near post ball, cut out by Muscat. Becoming a bit shapeless for Melbourne at the moment. Getting Daly back to Stentaro. Tries to switch the point of attack. Marchioni is going to put Kemp under pressure. I think it was Palladino. It is Marchioni. Challenge from Broxham. Just can't keep the ball out when they get a lucky break. Hernandez hoping against hope for the whistle. Didn't come. Zanetti drives it across the field.
Settled into a lovely rhythm at the moment, Juventus. They really seem to be enjoying themselves. Confidence oozing, as you see there, from that ball from Zanetti. Drove at a full 50 metres, inches away from the target.
He's a class player, isn't he? Luciano Zanetti.
At the moment, Juventus really dominating in midfield. Thiago Zanetti. Accomplished international players really running the show.
Zemina too strong for Carlos Hernandez. Palladino waits for Marchioni to arrive in support. Muscat. Broxham. Now some room finally for Kemp. Hernandez. Poor option from Hernandez. And an equally poor one from Legrottaglie. It was Stentaro. Now Kemp. Almost enough on the right, weight on the pass from Matthew Kemp. Lassi got himself a metre or so on Zemina. 27 minutes gone. Still that goal from Legrottaglie providing the difference between these two teams. Victory yet to have a shot on that Juve goal, occupied by the Australian Jess Van Straten. Hernandez. It's a good ball in the near post. Almost a chance for the victory. Podolak was close, but not quite close enough, and it was Daly, the skipper, who cleared the danger.
A great positional sense defensively there for Juventus, but it was a Carlos Hernandez, a little bit of magic. He's at his best in the tight areas. Whipped a little ball in with the left foot, just ahead of the on-rushing Tommy Pontiac.
First corner for Melbourne, Zaleski to take. Back post delivery, and it's a cool, calm, collected piece of goalkeeping from Jess Van Straten. Juve on the break. Pouring forward, Juve. Click to the back post. The volley. Zemina was the player who made the hard yards after defending the corner. That's a 90-metre run from Jonathan Zabina. The only thing that was missing in the end was the finish.
Wonderful work from Juventus on the counter-attack. Zabina, as you said, 90-metre run, but It was Palladino with a lovely little set-up ball. It was almost a no-look. He knew Zabina was making ground to his left. He held it until he was in wonderful position to strike on goal. Just didn't get the volley right.
The right back playing as a left winger. Impressive. 5 shots to nil. The last one from Jonathan Zabina. Here's Molinaro. Juve giving Matthew Kemp plenty of room on this near side. Lacks support. Matthew Kemp trying to muscle his way through. It's a big ask faced by the likes of Zabina and Marchionni, who does the sporting thing. Zabina thinking that Kemp was injured. He's okay.
A rare smile from Eddie Merrick. Perhaps a wry smile. So seen his side avoid a second goal after Zabina's attempt.
Well, Claudio Ranieri made the point at the start of this week that he was here to spot talent. I'm talent spotting, he said. I guess that's an invitation for these Melbourne Victory players as well. It's a long way from the Telstra Dome to Turin, of course. Stranger things have happened. Zaleski.
There's been some celebrated cases of a player having a wonderful performance against the team and then being signed by them. Cristiano Ronaldo springs to mind. Sporting Lisbon against Manchester United in a pre-season match. We see Stan Lazaridis, another one, the former Socceroo, against a touring West Ham side.
Carl
found his way to the
Sheffield
EPL.
United. There's another one.
And even Nate Fabiano, a Brazilian with the Thai team Chonburi, against the Melbourne Victory.
Well, the news on Fabiano is that he's unable to play until the June 30 deadline. Nate Fabiano. That's when Leandro Love's contract runs out June 30, which is why Nate Fabiano's not in this squad tonight. He's back in Thailand, tidying up his affairs.
It'll be an interesting pre-season for the Melbourne Victory with Fabiano as an inclusion to the squad. They haven't really had that alternative to Danny Allsop in the 3 years of the A-League.
Strong challenge from Kemp. Raffaele Palladino.
A lot of conjecture as to how serious Juventus would take this match. So far, no sign that they're pulling out or shirking any issue. Appear to be really up for it physically.
Offside against Molinaro. Well, I think just about now Ernie Merrick's counting his lucky stars that Del Piero and Trezeguet aren't out there for Juve. It's been a pretty one-sided match so far, you have to say.
Melbourne Victory really struggling to find a way forward. They're getting swamped in midfield, turning the ball over time and time again. And the long ball from the back is offering them no joy either. Very strong physically at the back, Juventus.
Broxhill does well to wriggle away from Zanetti. The pressure again applied immediately on the ball, as it is on pace. And the possession's been turned over. Birindelli. Still going Birindelli. Not sure what the idea was there.
talk about the attacking flair of the Italians, of a side like Juventus, free scoring at the best of times. But what's been wonderful to see tonight is their defensive work, especially in midfield. They pressure the ball carrier, they get the player head over the ball, limit his vision and his options, and they've forced so many turnovers.
Yes, we shouldn't be too harsh on Melbourne Victory. This is a class opposition after all. His pace. Launched by Theoklitos. Elassi is under it, so too is Legrottaglie. Muscat wants some movement. Not sure if Elassi got the touch, but he has opened up some space here now for Hernandez. Invited to the byline by Legrottaglie. Cleaned up by Pondillac. Clips it into space. Hernandez almost there in time.
Frustration there, Tommy Pondillac trying to create something from midfield for Carlos Hernandez. Been very limited opportunities in this first half thus far. Juventus play a lovely 4-4-2, so strict they hold their line. Such a facet of Italian football, people understanding their position, playing their role within the team.
Stendaro. Molinaro. Marchioni's coming off that right-hand side. Zanetti. Anywhere will do for Matthew Kemp. Well, that's an end-of-season friendly pass from Stendaro. We wouldn't try that in the Serie A, I don't imagine. Possession is God in Italian football.
We'll cut him a little bit of slack. A lot of grass on the other side of the touchline on that far side can be a little off-putting. Players used to the advertising hoardings and the fence right up against the pitch can sometimes be a little confused or distracted by those large areas of grass on the outer.
Said by a true Juve fan. Hernandez. We've talked about Nate Fabiano joining the Victory, adding to their ranks of imports. The other news in that area is that Joseph Keenan has been allowed to go on trial with the Newcastle Jets. He's got another year of his contract to go, the Englishman, but clearly Tony America's looking to bring in another import if he can free up that spot.
It was a disappointing year for Joe Keenan. He came much heralded, former Chelsea junior, played in the Dutch First Division, but never really came to grips with the A-League. Was brought here to be that attacking left-sided weapon. Didn't eventuate, perhaps a second chance at Newcastle.
Where the hands win the ball. Oh, no.
Elassi putting the pressure on Stendaro. Warming up the subs. There's the man who really does make things happen, Archie Thompson. Interesting. I wonder if we're going to see him on sooner rather than later. The talk before the game was 20-30 minutes at the end of the match. Very impressive, of course, off the bench against Chonburi, Archie Thompson. Zebina. And Zebina takes exception to the challenge from Seb Ryle and reacts.
Yeah, I don't think there was anything sinister there from young Sebastian Ryle. I think he actually thought he was going to win the ball. Zebina got that lanky stride. He almost looked like he'd lost possession, stuck the foot out, got the toe in to keep the ball. Ryle had already committed to the challenge.
Zanetti. Marchionni. Good work from Kemp. They worked it well though, Juve. Early release from Theoklitos. Melbourne slow to get forward though and support Pondeljac. Just over 5 minutes left in the first half here in Melbourne. Nicola Legrottaglie's goal. Still the difference, but it's been a dominant Juve performance. They've controlled every facet of this match. But credit to the victory, they're hanging in there. Muscat does well to play his way out. Roxham almost lost possession. Hernandez. It's away from Marchionni. Good work. Hernandez and Lassie. Oh, the flag was up late. The shot lacked conviction in the end. Best move of the game for Melbourne victory.
Yeah, the brightest moments have come down this left-hand side. Matthew Kemp on occasion getting himself forward, and Carlos Hernandez always good in the tight areas. This time the little dink in behind the back four. Marginal offside call, probably correct in the end, but the best opening thus far. But it was Melbourne's ability to beat the midfield of the Juventus side that got themselves some comfortable possession in the front third, something they haven't been able to do for the majority of this half. Juventus have been playing a high midfield line, really stepping onto the Melbourne victory, causing them to lose possession in their own half. That time, they managed to keep the ball and push it forward, nearly to great effect.
Palladino wants Molinaro to head towards the corner. It's Hernandez instead. Now Molinaro. Hanging cross for Molinaro. And again, the victory of ball watched. It was Nathan Alassi there who really lacked conviction. Now Pondeljac. Looks a bit proppy, doesn't he, Hernandez? Not quite stretching out the Costa Rica. The right thigh is heavily strapped. I'm not sure how long he is for this game, Carlos Hernandez. Certainly not running freely on that occasion.
Now, it's not his strong suit at the best of times, chasing balls into the gaps. He's definitely one with the ball at his feet, can be devastating, let alone when he is carrying an injury.
Well, we'll have the free kick. It's Zaleski in a hurry to take it. We'll get a second bite of the cherry. Jess Van Straten will be very, very determined to keep a clean sheet. Of loan spells at Verona, and Chievo Verona acknowledges that he needs to find some first-team football next season. 25 years of age, it's about time he started playing regularly. Zaleski off his line comfortably. Van Straten. Zebina. Lucci goes to ground, theatrically. Poked forward by Legrottaglie.
Rather interesting twist of fate, isn't it? Jess Van Straten, all the way from Australia to play for Juventus, ends up making his appearance for Juventus back in Australia.
Has played in the 2 previous matches on this tour, Jess Van Straten. Number 3 keeper at Juve, and he was out quickly off his line to sweep behind a square defence. Pontiac was onside there and away. Zebina asks Paolucci to chase. Kemp. Now pace. Just a couple of promising signs for Melbourne in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, the confidence definitely would have lifted. Managed to get themselves in behind that Juventus defence on 2 occasions now within this last 5 minutes.
Nice work from Pontiac. Just overhits the pass. The first 2 touches, though, from Tommy Pontiac, they were delightful. Heavy traffic with no time. Got himself some space.
He needs to get himself into this game more. One of the most experienced players on the park for the Melbourne Victory. It's really up to Carlos Hernandez and Tommy Pontiac to provide that attacking spark. They need to get a hold of the football, bring other people into the play.
We're inside stoppage time now at the end of this first half. Hernandez. Ball in early. Ryle. Well, there is the half-time whistle from Ben Williams. So we've got the goal scorer, the defender, Legrottaglie, a thumping header for Juve. Melbourne Victory behind the 8 ball for most of the first half of football, but a few encouraging moments towards the end. Carlos Hernandez doesn't look 100% fit, but he has produced some encouragement for Melbourne Victory. Claudio Ranieri, I'm sure, will be pretty happy with the performance and the scoreline in the first half here at the Telstra Dome. At half-time, it's Juve 1, Melbourne Victory 0.
We can buy in so much bulk that we can bring the prices down. By doing that, we pass back the savings to the customer.
4 outlet power boards, only $10.20 per pack of 4. Bosch 100-piece accessory kit, $58. Channel and Black Grate Garage Pack, $95. Roller covers, $11.97. Seagrass doormat, 2 for $4.
We don't just buy pallets of stock, we buy truckloads of stock.
Lowest prices are just the beginning.
The XC90, Australia's favourite luxury 7-seat SUV from Volvo.
Score points with your family. Go home. Fly Pacific Blue to New Zealand and the Pacific Islands. And right now you can fly from just $229. Book now at flypacificblue.com.
So, Commonwealth Bank will speak to you in easy-to-understand language about financial planning.
So you can look forward to retiring
To
shebang-a-bang.
this little island could be your Florida.
Active retirees can golf, weightlift,
Frolic on the beach.
go dancing.
Guys, that's New Zealand.
Call it whatever you want.
How about just saying we'll speak to you in easy-to-understand language about financial planning?
Show them the bungee jumping.
Golden touches from the golden boots of this star-studded Juve team. They've looked a class above so far, and they've got the goal as well. But don't discount the Victory's fighting spirit. They'll be keen to make a game of it in the second half here at the Telstra Dome. So a change of pace at the break. Juve don't have too many more options on the bench. Down to 15 players, having released Hasan Salihamidzic and David Trezeguet. A big moment for Luca Castilla. People tend to doubt the relevance of end-of-season games, but for Claudio Ranieri, it's a chance for him to have a look at some of his youngsters and see what they're made of. And for those players, it's an opportunity. Definite opportunity.
And the one thing you know with a big club like Juventus, it's not all about ability either. There's a certain mindset, a strength of character you have to perform for the big clubs. The pressure's on every time. Everybody's up for the game against you. There's the eyes of the nation are on you.
And it's also little things off the field, like whether you're on time for the team bus, whether you've got the blazer on. Someone like Ranieri takes those things into account when he assesses character as well, doesn't he? Yeah, it's all about discipline. If you can't prove yourself off the field in those little things, then how are you going to be expected in the heat of battle to do the right thing? Zebina.
He's a wonderful character, Ranieri, always one you enjoy listening to. You like to hear his press conferences. You like to hear his thoughts on the game.
Roxham left it short. Lassi. Muscat asking Zaleski to chase. Birindelli is put under pressure. The skipper. Thompson cleans up his first touch of the ball. Ward. Almost got past the first challenge. Nicky Ward. Legrottaglie eventually hooks the ball over his shoulder up towards the halfway. There's always something to play for players, no matter the size or scale of the game. For these three Olyroos in this Melbourne Victory squad, I'm sure Graham Arnold's watching this game. They missed the tour to Malaysia, the recent tour to Malaysia. Tony Merrick wanted to keep them for the AFC Champions League. So the door opened for a few other players. And it was, I'm sure they're pretty nervous about it, the likes of Zaleski, Ward, Roxham.
Yeah, there's some fine performances in that tournament. Australia making the final. 4 wins in a row to get themselves there. Such a cutthroat decision. That team, only 18 players to go to the Beijing Olympics. 3 overage players are certainly to be chosen. Doesn't leave a lot of spaces open.
Just a month before the squad is pared down to 18 players, and at the moment they don't have any fixtures lined up. The Australian Olympic team. So games like this are a shop window. Marchionni. What a CV. Claudio Ranieri. Big job when he came to the club after all the dramas which had preceded him. On a hiding to nothing, really, wasn't he? And again, he's proved his managerial ability.
And always the gentleman as well. Represents the club fabulously well.
Ward looking for Lassi, who's continued his run. Zebina. Clears it over the line.
Good early moments for the Melbourne Victory in their second half. Seem to be inspired by those moments at the end of the first half of coming out with a renewed vigour, taking it to Juventus.
Maybe Thompson's got something to do with that. He does tend to liven up this Melbourne Victory team. Zaleski. It's away from Molinaro. Nice return pass from Hernandez. Ryle. Kemp. Goes to the early ball into the near post and almost picked out Archie Thompson. Good keeping there from Van Straten. Merrick likes what he sees with good reason.
A great ball movement by the Melbourne Victory, culminating in the driven cross by Matthew Kemp, inches away from Archie Thompson.
Zanetti. Advantage played by referee Ben Williams. Good officiating. Here's Hernandez. Delightful ball in behind, and Lassie. Well, he needed more conviction there, the youngster. Van Straten again was off his line quickly. Credit to him, but Lassie has got to be a lot more determined in those situations.
Yeah, he was held away from the contest, but wonderful goalkeeping Van Straten, and the ball from Hernandez was inch perfect.
Suddenly a chance at the other end for Juve. Big chance for Juve.
Wonderful running again. And what about the creative play? Palladino, we see here the ball from Carlos Hernandez was inch perfect. Van Straten out strongly. Aggressive goalkeeping. And then Palladino again. We talked about his setup play in the first half. That time it allowed Molinari, I think it was, to run in position. Marchionni made a great run. But Palladino, it's the weight of his passing. That's the third time we've seen his setup play right on the mark. Deserved a better finish.
Broxton. Poor ball from pace. Thiago nips in. Here's Molinaro. Marchionni has made that surging near post run, but the delivery was disappointing from Christian Molinaro. A long, hard slog the Serie A season for him. And that is Archie Thompson at his very best.
Yeah, wonderful footwork, Archie Thompson. So good at eluding the defence. But Melbourne have definitely upped the tempo, doing a much better job of keeping possession in midfield, building some pressure, allowing themselves to get forward out of their own half, setting Juventus on the back foot.
I think Alessandro Birindelli, the Juve captain, has just taken a little bit of notice of the number on Archie Thompson's shirt there. And better be careful. Zaleski, there's Thompson. Now Hernandez. Zaleski. Ward. Breaks for Hernandez. Carlos Hernandez! Superb!
We spoke about Melbourne Victory doing a much better job of keeping the football, and there they got their reward. Much more dynamic movement in the front third. Lovely run by Zaleski in behind the defence. It broke free. We see here Zaleski with the give and go with Ward. Didn't get the bounce of the ball. It was half cleared. Carlos Hernandez swooped on it. The half volley rifled into the top corner. Van Straten helpless. Too much power on the shot as it swerved away from the goalkeeper. We talked about Melbourne Victory, much more aggressive in this second half. Rewarded there.
A textbook strike from Carlos Hernandez. Van Straten beaten, and the Victory back on level terms. And no more than they deserve after the way they played in this second half. Credit to Melbourne, big credit for them. And a wake-up call for Juve. We might have suspected it was going to be a bit too easy. It's not.
So noticeable since half-time. Melbourne Victory so sharper in their movement, in looking for the ball, making options for their teammate.
Mistake. Hernandez. Hernandez in on goal. Took too long. He took too long, Carlos Hernandez. He was hoping to draw the penalty. Ben Williams not interested. Another scare though for Juve. Marchionni. Palladino leaves it. It's Molinaro, I should say. Broxton.
Massive let-off for Juventus there, turning the ball over at the back. It was the pressure from Carlos Hernandez. He tried to step inside Zabina, was closed down by two Juventus defenders. Perhaps could have got the shot off earlier. I think he may have been trying to find Archie Thompson, who'd made the run to the far post. I felt he could have had the shot. We'd just seen him rifle one in the net moments earlier.
Maybe he couldn't believe his luck there, Carlos Hernandez. Two in a couple of minutes, it could have been. The spring in the step now of Melbourne victory. Thompson, the man who always makes things happen. Down he goes, and he gets the decision. It was Zanetti's challenge.
I don't think Zanetti can believe it either. It looked as though he had the front position. Archie Thompson into the back of him, and then bringing his man down.
A hometown decision.
I don't think even Archie thought it was his for a kick initially. But it was a sign of that again. It was Juventus facing their own goal. Melbourne victory forcing them backwards, putting them under pressure, something they couldn't do in the first half.
Zaleski. Pace has gone forward. Elassi is there as well. They don't have a lot of height, to be fair, Melbourne victory. Zaleski too flat, easily picked off by Zebina. Well, that's a crude challenge by Zanetti. He can have no complaints. Crude challenge on Hernandez.
Yeah, frustration there, Cristiano Zanetti, and that tells you something about the way the momentum has shifted in this match. Not happy about the referee's decision moments earlier on the far side with Archie Thompson. That time lost possession to Hernandez and really reckless lashing out.
Well, he's a bit sore and sorry at the moment, Carlos Hernandez. Melbourne for the moment down to 10. Muscat wastes the free kick. Molinaro. Palladino, too quick for pace. Too much pace for pace. The cutback was a good one. And it was young Castilla. Almost got on the end of things.
Again, another example. Palladino, for me, he's been sensational. His lead-up work, his assist work has been sensational. That time, right on the money for Castillo. Couldn't quite turn the cross into the net.
Thiago. Birindali. Molinaro goes for the early ball. Blocked by Zaleski. Molinaro surges in. The timing on that tackle by Ward had to be exact, and it was. Stendaro wins it back for Juve. The shot from a long way out. A trifle optimistic from Cristiano Zanetti.
He made his mind up early, didn't he? He didn't quite get it far enough out of his feet. Wanted to get the shot off quickly before the Melbourne victory defence had a chance to get out there and close him down. Noticeable lifting of the atmosphere around the stadium. Shot count still heavily in favour of the visitors, 8-2. And what a stunning one of those two from Carlos Hernandez.
Well, we thought the crowd was 50-50, but after that goal, maybe it's not. It's victory. Just Van Stratton, I'm sure, disappointed he's been beaten, but when he has a look at the replay, you might appreciate just how good that strike was from Hernandez. Chance here for Juve. Down goes Palladino, is it? And it's a penalty for Juve. Marchionni it is. Penalty, Juve. No hesitation from the referee.
And again, what about the supply line? Again, it was Palladino who was off balance, still had the presence of mind. He lifted it outside of the foot pass. We see it, he slipped over. And look at that little ball in behind Marchionni again. He's been good with those aggressive forward runs. Got himself goal side of Sebastian Ryle. Used his body.
He might have got away with that in the A-League, Seb Ryle, but he's going to learn something there.
Yeah, Seb Ryle stuck the leg out from behind. Didn't make contact with the ball. Juventus player Marchionni positioned his body beautifully. Palladino again with the assist. Looks like Palladino.
Yes, it is Palladino. Raffaele Palladino against the Octotos. And he sends the keeper the wrong way. And Juve are back in front.
Yeah, inch-perfect penalty kick inside the upright. Goalkeeper going the wrong way. And just reward for Raffaele Palladino. He's been at the heart of so many good attacking movements for Juventus. Always supplying the final ball. Hasn't been rewarded with a good finish from any of his teammates thus far. This time took it upon himself. He stepped up straight away and said, I'll put this one in the back of the net.
All smiles in the Juve camp again. They've got themselves back in front, and Ranieri decides it's a good time to make a change. Another young player comes on. Cristian Pasquato. He replaces Christian Molinaro.
Juventus have that lovely tradition of players playing in that sort of half-striker role. Roberto Baggio made it famous. Del Piero continued it. Now it looks as though Palladino could be the next one.
Well, nobody has played more games or scored more goals for Juve than Alessandro Del Piero. So that's a pretty good mentor for Raffaele Palladino. Thompson. He brings the crowd to their feet. Archie Thompson. Roxon. Zaleski. Well, he goes in the end for the cross, but the opportunity was beckoning there for Billy Zaleski. The volley was difficult, but it was worth a try.
And Carlos Hernandez had made a lovely late run to the far post. You were just expecting Zaleski to drive it back across the 6-yard box. Hesitated, eventually lost the angle.
Thiago. Pasquato.
It's a wonderful learning opportunity for some of these Melbourne Victory players. In the past, Australian players would find that step up when they went with the national team. You have to think quicker, you have to be alert, you have to move sharper than you do at club level. The opportunity to play against this sort of opposition, similar. Melbourne Victory players will take a lot out of this.
Well, it's a farewell for Adrian Caceres. The Victory shirt, of course, he's off to join the Central Coast Mariners next season. Nice gesture from Ernie Merrick. I wonder if he's going to do the same for Leandro Love and Casper Tafta, who we understand is heading off to the Newcastle Jets. There's that Victory bench. Nathan Alassi. Have learnt a lot from 67 minutes on the field against Juve. Castilla. And Caceres. A rusty pass from Adrian Caceres. Marchionni. Was Palladino hoping that Pasquato was behind him. And Nicky Ward's been hustled into error.
Juventus have stepped the intensity up again. We saw them off the pace at the opening quarter of an hour this second half. The last 5 minutes, they're back to their best, pressing in midfield.
trying to open up the space there for Palladino. Marchionni.
Lovely ball movement again from Juventus. Played their way from the right back position all the way over to the left-hand side.
A late flag against Adrian Caceres. 20 minutes left here at the Telstra Dome. We've got the goals we were looking for. 2 from Juve, 1 from the Victory. Second half has been thoroughly entertaining.
Tackle there. Adrian Caceres on the receiving end. You see it here. Studs up. Dangerous tackle. Andrea Rossi.
Put it down to youthful enthusiasm. Well, a mistake there from Juve. Seized upon by Caceres, who tried to play in Thompson, but it was a sloppy ball, really. That's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, didn't really have
Caceres. He had a lot more time and space.
Yeah, he didn't really have the conviction, did he? Needed to be a lot more aggressive with that pass. It's too easy for Van Straten in the end.
Another change, a double change, in fact, from Ernie Merrick, Pantelides and Evan Berger are on. Zaleski is one of the players who will make way. The other will be Legrottaglie.
Great learning experience for Legrottaglie, coming up against 2 hardened professionals at both club and international level, Cristiano Zanetti and Thiago Mendes.
Here's Berger. Hernandez. Mistake from Zanetti, and Kemp got his wires crossed there with Adrian Caceres. A bit in damage. Palladino. Before Castilla. Watching Carlos Hernandez, it's amazing what a difference that goal has made to his physical appearance. He was limping towards the end of that first half when the passes weren't sticking, and that goal, all of a sudden, he looks like $1 million.
Looking for the ball at every opportunity, and that's what Melbourne Victory need. They need Carlos Hernandez prominent. Such a wonderful talent when on the ball, but far too often doesn't get enough of the football, either because the teammates don't find him or he doesn't get himself open enough. But when he's in form, so good on the ball, so creative. His forwards a good understanding with Archie Thompson too.
Pace. Clever ball from Kemp. Thompson. Well, there's been a few signs that Adrian Caceres hasn't played a lot of football lately. Not quite Not the touch we're used to seeing from him. Here's Ward, past the first challenge. And almost cut inside there. Nicky Ward. Stendado's made the mistake. Caceres. Wrong option. Better options at the back of the box for Adrian Caceres. Too close to the keeper.
Yeah, he really wanted to keep it on his left foot, didn't he? Perhaps the right-footed option was the better one. Again, more aggressive forward movement by Melbourne, putting Juventus under pressure, forcing the turnover. It's what we saw at the start of the second half.
Kemp shown the line by Bergendelli. It's a tired-looking cross from Matthew Kemp.
Just lacking the composure at times in the front third. Melbourne Victory have got themselves in some good positions. First we saw Caceres on the byline on this side, then Matthew Kemp on the left-hand flank. Just not having the composure to pick the right option at the crunch moment.
Well, those three quick changes by Claudio Ranieri have certainly interrupted the rhythm of this Juve side. Marchionni looking for Pasquato. Didn't release it quick enough, Matthew Kemp. We're going to see another couple of changes by the looks of things from Ernie Merrick. One will be in goals, Mitchell Langerak, who was pretty impressive against Chonburi last week. He's hoping to come on, he's ready to come on. This is Kaz Patafta.
The referee instructing the fourth official that they've already made, they can't make two substitutions, they have to choose between Langerak and Patafta. Bizarre situation. It's a friendly.
Sure, the rules were agreed before this match. I would have expected it to be unlimited.
Wires crossed somewhere along the line.
Well, they've made three changes, Melbourne, haven't they? Let's have Juve.
I think they've made four, perhaps, Melbourne. Berger, Pantelides, Thompson, Caceres.
Yep, you're right. Ward with the switch. Caceres offside.
We'll see Mitch Langerak sit back down.
So that's the limit, 5 changes, and it's the 5th and last change for the Victory, Kaz Patafta. The last time we will see him in a Melbourne Victory shirt. And it's an early mark for the Costa Rican and the goal scorer, Carlos Hernandez. He gets a rousing send-off. He's played his part.
Wonderful goal from Carlos Hernandez. Was always in the thick of most of Melbourne's best moments going forward. I look forward to him having a good rest and then having a good solid pre-season. You always question whether physically he was at his best throughout the previous A-League season. No doubt about his ability on the ball and his ability to link with Archie Thompson and create opportunities. Just like to see him produce it more often over the 90 minutes.
So the Victory have emptied their bench. Here's Patafta. 10 minutes to show us what he's made of. There's been so much talk about Kaz Patafta's role at this club. Caceres. Ward goes near post. Hesitation from Van Straten, and Kaz Patafta almost with a dream introduction.
Quality delivery, we see it here, something with the Melbourne Victory fans will miss next season. Carlos Hernandez, Adrian Caceres, the left-footed cross right into the danger zone, actually came off the heel of Kaz Patafta, perhaps offsided by the lunging Juve defender.
Well, what a moment that would have been for Kaz Patafta for the show reel, no doubt. It's lack conviction.
Made a great run into the 6-yard box. Good to see midfield players taking the initiative. And the quality of the cross from Caceres.
Well, that's the end of the section for Jess Van Straten. Gianmarco Fiori, the Primavera goalkeeper, gets around 10 minutes. And the Australian makes way for the Italian. And official confirmation of the crowd, 43,357. Melbourne, you're unbelievable. Juve, Muscat with a challenge. Still going, Kevin Muscat loses out in the end to Castilla. Now a chance for Zebani to settle things down. Birondelli, look at the space for him. Marchionni. Well, Alessandro Birondelli, I'm sure in a moment. Emotional moment for him at the end of this match. Juve skipper. Still fondly remembered for a thunderous Champions League goal a few years ago. I think it was against Deportivo La Coruña. Juve fans still talking about it. Doesn't score too many. That was one out of the box. Evan Berger overplays his hand. Marchionni looking for Palladino. Well, time's starting to run out for Melbourne if they want to get themselves a result out of this game. Caceres. Thompson heads down his right-hand side. He took the wrong option, Adrian Caceres.
Juventus quite comfortable to hold the ball in this situation. 2-1 lead.
Now Thompson has space and time. He'll take on Stendaro, who held his ground. Big defender. Well, Archie Thompson looked up there and saw one blue shirt in the middle. Ward swings it to the back post. Caceres retrieved it. Now Patafta. Matthew Kemp. Almost got it. Does get it back, Archie Thompson. And draws the foul. Zanetti with the challenge. Thompson's ball is a clever one. And he stayed down, Archie Thompson. Let's hope that's not the knee. That's not a good look. That's not a good look at all.
I was just about to say Archie Thompson looks like he's enjoying being able to run around freely out there tonight, enjoying being in the contest. But he pulled up, saw on that occasion, lunged across with his right foot. Heavily bandaged right knee.
Thompson is very slow to get back to position. Let's have another look at the incident. The cross was taken and he caught his opponent, I think it's Rossi, as he crossed the ball, maybe jarring that knee, twisting the knee.
Yeah, his hands went straight to his knee. He was off balance, made contact with the Juventus defender. Seems to be moving a little freer now.
Deep ball, climbing at the back post, and that has iced the cake. It's Marchionni. Towering header, and that's the ball game for Juve.
Wonderful headed goal by Marchionni, who's been very aggressive in getting himself into the penalty area the whole evening. But again, I think it was Palladino with the lead-up work on the left-hand side, swung the deep cross. It looked as though Matthew Kemp had the position well and truly. Then up came Marchionni over the back. Wonderful, clean contact. And beat the goalkeeper, Theoglitos, at his near side. You see it there, Palladino with the assist again. Look at that late vertical jump. Marchionni absolutely sensational.
That is the perfect header for Marco Marchionni.
The combination of technique, timing, and physical ability there summed up in a wonderful goal. In the final minute, no less, 90 minutes of work, still able to produce that. Created again by Palladino's wonderful work.
Well, we're going to get 4 more minutes at the end of this game. Still time for another goal or 2. Stendaro, Palladino.
He's been wonderful tonight, Palladino. 4 or 5 moments of extreme quality. A goal and an assist. Could have had a couple more.
Here's Thompson. Not sure how much he wants to get involved in the rest of this game, Archie Thompson. He's thinking World Cup right now. And that's a worrying sign for not just Ernie Berwick, of course, but most of all for Pim Verbeek. He wanted Archie Thompson to get some game time under his belt here before he thought about taking him to the Middle East next week. He's got the time on the park, but he may have aggravated that knee problem. Stendaro. Give us a quick comparison between this performance by Melbourne Victory and some of the games we've seen in the AFC Champions League. For mine, their form in this game has been a big improvement.
Especially the second half. They've looked much more aggressive. They've worked harder, I think, to make position and retain the football. That's always been the question mark. They've found it hard to keep the football in the Asian Champions League. And a lot of that comes down to not the movement off the ball more than anything. There's a nice second half. They've showed they're quite capable. If the movement's there, the technique seems to come with it, doesn't it? All of a sudden, people start looking good on the ball. That's because they've got options. Still a lot of work to be done, but some positive signs. Always good when you see Carlos Hernandez in form.
Esquarto.
Good learning experience for them too, just about what sort of intensity you need to play with all the time. You watch this Juventus team, and apart from a slight lull at the start of the second half, just the intensity in their work. Outstanding. Need to work on their composure in the front third. Melbourne Victory finding themselves in some good positions, just not quite finding the final pass.
Palladino.
Juventus.
And there's the goal that he has deserved. Raffaele Palladino, his second of the game. The first came from the spot, but that was class.
And I was just making the point about that quality in the front third, making the right pass, having the composure. That time, lovely ball from the left flank in over the back of the defence. Poor marking. I think it was Sebral caught out of position. But what about the composure and the technique of Palladino? He just let the ball come into him beautifully. Did exactly what he had to do. Opened up the angle superbly and then volleyed home with aplomb. And he deserves that, Palladino. For me, the outstanding attacking player on the park tonight.
Well, he made that look a lot easier than it was. Raffaele Palladino has seized the moment and taken his opportunity. It's a flattering scoreline for Juve. And there is the final whistle, so there's life in the old lady yet. Juve good enough to beat Melbourne Victory, but the Italian Giants were made to work hard by the A-League side despite the scoreline. The late goals from Marchionni and Palladino maybe flattered the visitors in the end, but smiles from Claudio Ranieri, satisfaction from Juve, who finished their post-season tour with a victory. But for the Victory, there was some encouragement as well, particularly in that second half performance when they were rewarded with a goal from Carlos Hernandez. The full-time score here at the Telstra Dome is Juventus 4, Melbourne Victory 1.